Hi, everyone. Welcome to Concept Being the podcast where the intention is well. My name is Jade.
And I'm Aileen.
And we're your hosts for today's episode. So, hey. All
Hi.
right. So today I'm like buzzing because I really want to hear your opinion on this. So today we're going to be talking about Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear by Elizabeth Gilbert. I found this book doing research as I typically do on the TikTok. It popped up on TikTok and this girl was like, you need to read this book. And I was like, say less, I've been influenced. And so I told Aileen we should read it because I thought it would be fun. And so I read it, Aileen read it, and we're going to talk about it. So if you haven't read it and you would like to read it, pause this episode, go read it or listen to the audiobook. I think it was like 5 hours for the audiobook. And then come back and you can listen to us chat about it for the next like 30 minutes. But I'll give you a little TLDR basically of what the book is about. It's basically about being brave and free and curious so that you can live a creative life, which is basically the vibes. That's the goal. So it's by Elizabeth Gilbert, who is the person who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, which was my theme for like 2022, I think. I think I was in my Eat, Pray, Love era in 2022, or was that 2023? I forgot. I think it was 2023 because that was the year that I went to Bali, and I was like,
You were.
yeah,
You were
yeah,
like, I'm gonna have my whole eat, pray, love moment.
yes, and I definitely wrote that in my out of office. I was like, I'll be out. I'm in my Eat, Pray, Love era. Thanks, bye. Don't email me anymore. So, it's by Elizabeth Gilbert. So we're gonna talk about it. Okay, so I liked it. I liked the first half of it. I feel like I got a lot of just like little messages, and maybe I was looking for something that I needed to hear when she was giving advice and stuff like that. But
I'm
I
very
don't know.
curious of what you like loved about it. Because okay, like so I was on a trip to China and I was like, I'm gonna listen to it. And so I put it on, I like as an audiobook because I needed something to do on the plane. I fell asleep. Her voice is whoever's voice that is on Spotify was very soothing. And I was like, I fell asleep. So then when I got to Hong Kong, I was in my hotel room and like um I I I was like suffering. Like it was the first day I tried to stay up and like the next day I got up and I had some time like because I was up early and all this stuff. So I started listening to it again and then throughout my trip in China, I went into mainland China and I was like listening to bits and pieces of it. And I actually yesterday I was in the car for like I don't know, like 2.5 hours, and I listened to more of it because I was like, I need to re-listen to it to make sure I
Hmm.
grasp it all. But I'm very curious of the points that you took away from it
Hmm.
because I have to be honest, like I didn't love it.
Okay.
Like I felt like it was just okay. I appreciated some points that I got from it,
Hmm.
but it was no eat, pray, love to me.
Did you read Eat, Pray, Love, or am I the?
Yes.
Oh,
But
I didn't
like
read it. I only watched the movie. All right. Well, there you go. Um that makes sense then. I did like it. I don't know, like I didn't obviously okay, so I didn't read Eat, Pray, Love, but I did like it. I think her message really hit me because I appreciate like the idea of creative living. I do think it's important and like I think um I understand why she was trying to explain like you just need to go for it. Like it doesn't matter if you feel like you're going to be good or not great at it or whatever. Like it just does you just do it to like just to do it. Like just to like fulfill your heart. And I understood that message and I think I did because I've I feel like for so long I lived a life without like any creativity. Like it was just kind of like blah. Like I'm just like I'm doing these things, like I'm going to work and it's whatever. And then like slightly adding like a little bit of creativity into my life, like it just like makes things a little bit more exciting and brighter. And like I I think that like the whole like sound bowl experience thing for me like really kind of like kicked it into high gear. Before that, like I used to like randomly do art and I suck at it. I understand that, but like I would just do it just to do it. And it's fun. Like it's just it's nice to do these things just to do them. And I think that was her message is like it just brings you like a sense of like just a purpose. Like it's good for you. And like I was reading into it of like why is creative living important for like your well-being and like trying to tie it back to that. And like there are benefits to it. Like there like it does help reduce stress, which like is always my goal in my life. And then like studies show that it increases like brain function. So it also just gives you like a sense of purpose. So like I really appreciated it. I felt like the very beginning of the book kind of had more things that I resonated with. The first one, this is the first one, where I was just like, yeah, um, to be afraid or to be ruled by fear is to be boring. She said that and I was like, oh bet. Because one of my like biggest fears is like I always like live my life based off of like, okay, one day I hope I'm gonna get really old and I'm gonna be in a nursing home. And I am going to be that old lady that like tells like the little volunteer person like my life story. And I want it to be an interesting story. So like if my story isn't gonna be interesting, that's a problem for me. And so for me to just like live my life based off of fear and she's telling me it's going to be a boring life, I was like, that does not align with the end goal of me having a really great life story. So I was like, damn, she's right. So that was the first one. She basically was like, you already know what happens when you let your life be ruled by fear. Like you live that life right now. You know exactly how it goes. And I was like, that's true. Whenever I'm afraid of something and I say no to something, I know exactly what the outcome is going to be. Versus if I'm afraid of something and I do it anyway, that's when things get exciting. That's when you get a good life story. That's when you get a story of like, oh, I jumped off of a stage in Barcelona, cracked my ankle, and then went to Coachella the next weekend. Came back with my toes blue. That's a good story. Okay, no matter what. Yeah, it was, my mom was pissed, but it's a good story to tell. People are always like, now, Jade, walk me through it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I was like,
I
okay.
just remember the whole time we were in Barcelona or that whole Europe trip. You're just like, I need to get on the stage. I need to get on the stage.
And I got on
And
all
then
of them. Okay.
you
And that's a
sure
good story. And
did.
I wasn't afraid of it either. Like I was just like, I'm getting on the stage. I don't care. I'm getting on the stage. And I got on the stage and I did my little Lizzie McGuire dance on top of the stage. And I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then like got off and like that was it. But it's a really great story for me to tell. So I was like, when she said that, I was like, okay, I do appreciate that. And that's when I was like, this book kind of hits. So like me knowing that like I can't let fear like take the steering wheel, like I was just like, yeah, that resonates. And she gave a really good example of like she's not saying for you never to be fearful of being creative or anything like that. She's just saying like it's gonna be there. Don't let it rule you. Like you can, it's gonna be there. Like no matter what. She's not telling you to just go out there and be reckless. She's saying acknowledge it. That's fine, but don't let that be like the final. That's not the thing that makes the decision. So that was the first one. That was my. I would say that was my favorite learning. The other one, I got a lot from this book actually. Now that I think about it, I like wrote down like a couple of like these are my favorite ones. The other one was have an affair with your hobby, which I feel like I have done that with sound bowls, where like literally at nighttime I would just like sit in my apartment every night and like light candles and like play sound bowls for like an hour, and it was just me and my little sound bowls, and no one knew, and it was just like it was I mean, I still do it, but like that was, I feel like I understood what she was saying, where she was like, have an affair. Cause it was just so much fun. And like, I didn't tell anyone that like that's what I would do at night. Like, it would just be like, this is what I do. And then I just like go to bed, wake up, go to work the next day. No one has to know that I had like an entire concert in front of the mirror with me and my sound bowls at nighttime. So I like that one. And then the other one, which I think me and you were just talking about, which is don't quit your day job. It puts too much pressure on your hobbies. That one I was sad to hear because obviously, like, yeah, I I don't want a day job. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to live, laugh, love through my life, and do it through my hobby. But I mean, I understood her point. Like, it puts too much pressure on your hobby, and it takes away a little bit of the magic that like your hobby gives you. And so for you to always have to depend on your hobby, it makes it a little bit less special. It takes away like that sexiness that it has of like, this is what I do for fun, when it becomes like, this is something that you have to do for money. So I think those are the biggest learnings that I got from the book. So now that I'm sharing this with you, did any of those hit for you?
Yeah, but I felt like it wasn't like earth shattering. And I think that's why, like, I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like mind blowing to me. And that's why I felt like I didn't love it. I do feel like it's a good book that people should listen to or read, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like I was like, oh my God, this is like earth shattering. Like, this is crazy. I need to do something, right? But I do think I agree that she does have very valid points in the book. I think for me, it was when she talks about the lady or her friend, whoever it is, that used to be a figure skater, right?
I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so essentially this lady like grows up like and she talks about how we all have different things in our lives that make us not do things or stop doing things, right? It might be this, like you said, like fear, failure. It might be because we feel like, what you say, you're too fat to get into a leotard and go ice skating or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or it could be anything, right? Or we're not going to be the best out there. But this lady essentially, like she's a middle-aged woman and she gets back out there on the ice and she's just figure skating for fun. And I think that was the thing I liked the most is you can do whatever you want and you don't have to be the best at it as long as you're enjoying it and you're having a good time.
Yeah.
So to me, I liked that aspect of the book. I liked that essentially she's just like get out there and do it, right? She talks about the author guy, right? Some poet, right? And they share the same last name and this guy, she didn't know who he was, and then like at the university, I forget the whatever her surname is, but they essentially say, "Oh, this is like whatever's office," because they had the same last name, and then she does some research and finds out that this guy is like a great poet, and he published something and he went into hiding, and then he published things like a decade later and then go into hiding again. And then like he became a professor and then she took over his office after. And it's just like some people are filled with greatness and they don't even know, or it's like the fear of what other people are going to think. And I think that was the most important message that I got out of the book is just do stuff because you want to do it and because you love it, and don't let anything stop you, whether it's fear or a thought you have. Like just get out there and do it because it's for you. And it the book resonated with me more because I feel like in the past, I don't know, like 2 months, I've been thinking, "Man, I don't really have, like, a hobby."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need, like, a fun hobby. Like, my brother just took up, like, learning how to play the piano, and he,
Mm-hmm.
like and it's funny because you said, like, you sit in your apartment and play sound bowls. He, like, when he comes to visit, like, my parents, like, over, like, Christmas time, right? Um, he has like a little travel keyboard and he bought this program and he's learning how to play the piano that way. And he spends like hours doing it, but he likes it. He enjoys it. He wants to learn an instrument. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I freaking need a hobby. I can't say cleaning is my hobby. Like,
Oh my God.
so you know what
Wait,
I mean?
can I? Okay, so there's this trend on TikTok about girl hobbies. I just want to be
Uh,
so clear. Like, okay, so girl hobbies, you do have hobbies, Aileen. Like, you do have
I do.
hobbies. And it's basically like how girls have like hobbies of like, my hobby is going to Trader Joe's. Like, my hobby is creating a mood board on Pinterest, which I'm sure you do. Like, my
I sure
hobby,
do.
yeah, my hobby is like cleaning up my apartment and then sitting down. Like, that's it. Like, that's the hobby. So you know what, give yourself grace. You have hobbies, you have girl hobbies. That's it, that's it.
I
But
do.
keep
I
keep
have girl
going.
hobbies.
Yes.
So, anyway, I've been thinking about this. So, the funny thing is, listening to the book did inspire me to be more creative. And I
Mm-hmm.
think for me, I want to try different things, right? I feel like there's so many creative things that you can do, and I want to try it and see what I like, right? But I
Mhm.
think you're right about like you do a hobby because you enjoy it, and if you put pressure on it just to do that, I feel like it does sometimes take away from enjoying a hobby because now you're trying to monetize it or make money from it.
Mhm.
So if you do it, for instance, like on the side, right? Like I know this girl and it she's like a nurse and then she on the side like she does like crafty things and sells them at like farmers markets and stuff. And but she enjoys making the crafts, right? And then she goes and sells them. And then there's just so many, I think, options for people and they can do things on the side and it brings them joy. And I think it's very important to have that because especially in America, you we are like workaholics here. Like we I'm just speaking for myself, right? I think I'm a workaholic sometimes. Like I have no boundary when it comes to work. Like I'm like, oh, you need something? Let me help you. Oh, you need this? Let me help you. Like, because that's kind of the nature of my job, right? But at that point in time, I think it's important that we put up that boundary and we ensure that we do something that is fun because otherwise, like you said, and I think you make a valid point, is when we're old, what are we going to be telling? Like, what stories are we going to be telling?
Yeah,
Right?
and you're not going to sit here and tell the volunteer person, "Oh, I made a great spreadsheet on Excel." That's not going to hit like the way that you think it's going to hit. Okay? So let's be FFR. You like no one wants to hear that story. So like do something that like takes over you a little bit. I don't know. Like I think that's like what else are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like it's you only get one life to live. Like might as well like throw yourself into something that like makes you happy, I think. So, but I
I
agree with
think that's
you.
your
Go ahead.
last statement is exactly what I got from the book.
Yeah,
If I had to
like
sum it up,
just
that's it.
yeah, like throw yourself into something that makes you happy and like just like let it overtake you because why not? Like what else are we really doing? What else is it there what's the point? What is honestly the point of everything? Like just do it cuz you want to do it. Like that's it. Like that's all she wrote, you know? But I agree with you with like America is always trying to make money from our hobbies. I wrote that down in my notes. So it's kind of funny that you like literally said that. Where it's just like it does that is the thing. Like you like have a hobby and someone's like, "Oh, you're great at it." And then you feel like you have to make a business out of it. And then like they make a business out of it and then they're unhappy because they're like that used like that's what I used to do for fun and now it's work. So I think that she didn't really I feel like she maybe could have covered that a little bit more of like what do you do when your hobby turns into your job? Like how do you still keep it like sacred? You know what I'm saying? Like let's say you do cuz
Hmm.
she kind of mentioned it as like a always like keep it on the side type of situation or like don't put too much pressure. But let's say you do that. How do you make it still yours? Like what are you doing? Like how do you keep that
Right.
sacred? I don't she didn't really answer that. But going back to your original thoughts on the book, I see what you're saying when you're like it wasn't groundbreaking. And you know what? I agree with you. But I never said I was groundbreaking. I never said that. Let's be honest. I never claimed to be deep. I never did that. Never once have I ever been like I have depth. I never did that. I agree. I think the book there like even just like the don't quit your day job. Like yeah, I've heard that like 500 times before. So, I agree with you. I understand why you're like it was a good book. It wasn't groundbreaking. I agree with you.
Hmm.
I will take that one. I do want to know, did you get to the part where she was telling the story about how she had an idea for a book and she like basically didn't end up making the book, but then her friend ended up making.
Yes.
Did you not find that so okay, backstory in case you haven't read it yet. Basically, Elizabeth Gilbert was going to write a book. I forgot what it was about. I think it was about like I don't know,
Some
like
girl in like
something.
Minnesota that goes to the Amazon jungle or something like that.
Yeah. And so she
Yeah.
was gonna write it, and then her husband, who I don't know, got deported or something. I don't know. I'm making it up now at this point, but like something happened with his citizenship, and so she got really busy and she wasn't able to write the book. She met a different author, and I think they like kissed each other on the cheek or something to say hello or say goodbye or something, and then they like continued to talk, and the other author was like, "Oh, I'm writing this book." And Elizabeth was like, "What is it about?" And it was about the same thing that Elizabeth Gilbert was going to write, but never got the chance to. Like she kind of like let it fall by the wayside. And it was literally the same idea. And so the idea of this chapter is basically like, if you don't nurture your ideas and you don't follow through on your ideas, they're not yours. They will find someone else to like help them be created. So you can't just like take these ideas for granted. If it comes to you, like it, you should act on it, um or else it'll leave you. And I was like, how many times has that, I mean, that's happened to me before, where I've had an idea and I've been like, that's a really great idea, and haven't done anything about it. And then later on, I see someone does it and I'm just like, what the heck? That was my idea. Jade, did you do anything about it? No. So shut up. So like, I think I think that was kind of like eye opening for me, where it's just like, you can't just like take these ideas for granted. Like if you get an idea, if you're lucky enough to get an idea and be inspired about something, and you decide to follow through, like you do need to like follow through, or else it'll leave. Like they expire within you, kind of. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, I feel like Aileen is about to be like, whoa. So I'm glad you like that one. Yeah.
I found it interesting,
Hmm.
and I do agree with your perspective on it. Like, if you are lucky to have an idea, you should run with it. Because I think, from my experience, like personally, I will sit on stuff and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, should I do this? Should I invest my time in this? Should I invest my money in this? What should I do? What about this? Like, and I overthink it and I never do anything with it. And then I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like,
Hmm.
and you see it somewhere else. So I think it is kind of a reminder. Like, I think I personally, I should say, need to be take more time and invest it in creativity and doing stuff that I actually like, and don't just say like, oh, I'm too busy. Let me just, but then again, I spend like an hour scrolling through like Instagram reels or something like that, or like doing stuff that doesn't really add a lot of value to my life.
That's your
And
hobby. Don't do that to yourself. That's your hobby. Let that be your girl hobby. It's okay.
okay, thank you so much, Jade.
Of course.
But I could be doing other stuff, right? And trying new things and trying new creative things that I don't do. So, anyway, that I agree that I we need to take more initiative and not just sit on things, because they will go away and you'll see them
Yeah,
somewhere else.
agreed. Did you do you remember the part about the genius? Do you remember that?
Refresh my memory.
Okay, this one actually like kind of hit hard for me, where she kind of explained like, usually as humans, like we're kind of like ego driven and stuff like that. And so like when we have a really great idea or we do something really great, your thought is like, "Oh, I'm a genius. I'm brilliant. Like, yes, of course I did this." But when something goes wrong, then it also like you blame yourself. You're like, "Oh, it's cuz I suck." And so she basically explains like you have the idea of like having external geniuses, and so like it's not you, like you're not really that awesome, like something inspired you, like some out of your physical whatever, it is kind of like guiding you and stuff like that. And so when really great things happen, don't say like, "Oh, I'm a genius." You would like thank your geniuses, so then it kind of takes some of the pressure off of you when you are creating things. You can ask your genius for help, which I think is really interesting because I've been working on like channeling creativity and stuff lately. So I understand where she's coming from. But like, it's also like if things go
Tell us
bad,
more about that, Jade.
channeling creativity. Is that what you
Yeah.
mean? Okay, this is okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna try and give you the TLDR of this one because it's kind of an interesting story. So basically, I made a friend, and she is really into energy. She's an energy healer, and she does Reiki, all of the things, right? And so I one day we were talking after yoga. She's also a yoga instructor. She's great, love her. And we were talking, and I was telling her about like my sound bath and like doing like giving people sound baths and stuff like that. And I was telling her, I was like, after sound baths, I just like get really tired. Like I just get super tired. I don't know what it's about. Like I don't know. Like after that, I just like need to lay down. And she can see energy. I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called, but like she could see, like she saw my aura. And like she could just see, I don't know, like she could just see things. And I'm talking to her and I'm telling her, and she's like, it's so interesting that you say that because when you're talking about it, I can see that you're pulling your creativity from yourself. And so that's what is exhausting you. And so why don't you try channeling creativity into you, letting it flow through you to give to other people instead of taking your own creativity from yourself and it's depleting you and giving it to other people. And so I was like, okay, how do I do that? And she was like, you just like when you sit and you meditate, you channel creativity. You just ask for creativity to flow through you. And I was like, okay. So I did it. And I mean, it's a journey that I'm working through, but like that's where it came from of her being like, you should try and channel creativity. So that's what I've been working on,
Interesting.
channeling creativity. Yes. And that's so that I can like, be able to not deplete myself, but also help people as well. So yeah, it's been a lot has been, unfolding in a very interesting way for me. Anyways, I forgot why I brought that up though. Oh, because of the geniuses. So yeah, but I mean, it's also nice because then you can rely on something else. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't always have to come from within. You could just ask for it and like it'll come to you, right? And so it's the same idea
Hmm.
with the genius where it's like, hey geniuses, hey, hey guys, I need some help. Like, can you help me out? And then like if the geniuses don't show up, like you normally you would blame yourself. You'd be like, oh, I have a creative block. Like I'm blocked right now. You would say I'm blocked. Like that's usually what people say. I have a
Hmm.
creative block. But instead you could take the blame off of yourself and be like, my geniuses just didn't show up today. It's not your fault. They're busy. What are you gonna do? So it takes some of that
They're
like
busy.
they're busy right now. They're doing hot girl shit with their friends. I don't know what they're doing, but they're not here right now. And that's why I couldn't create. Not I have a block. My geniuses didn't show up today. But then you also need to be able to thank your geniuses when they do show up. Like you can't just be like, oh, it's my genius's fault that I have a block. But when I do something great, I did that. You also have to be like, thank you, geniuses, for showing up for me today when they do show up. So I thought that was an
Okay.
interesting concept. Yes.
That is
So
interesting. I'm gonna try it.
try it, girl. Yeah, I think the geniuses was the most that was the most different one that I've heard. Like I wasn't expecting that from that book. I was like, that is a interesting concept. So I would say that one
Yeah.
I will probably try and implement throughout my daily life. And I've kind of already started, like where I'm like, okay, thank you, geniuses. Appreciate you. Thanks for showing up. Is there anything that you plan on implementing into your daily life?
I think my thing is just to try and I think try more creative things
Mm-hmm.
is what I got from it. No matter like if you think you're going to be bad at it or whatever, it's more of let me just try it and see if I like it. Like,
Yeah.
don't go and try and do something and be like the best at it. Like, just do it because you like to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I feel like that almost, I don't know, that sounded very close to like words of wisdom from Aileen, but I don't know, are
I
those
think it is.
I think so.
Yeah,
Like
those are my
I
words of wisdom.
didn't want to overstep, but I was like, it's giving final words of wisdom from Aileen right there. Okay. So I
Yes.
feel like thank you so much. We always appreciate your wisdom. I think we can wrap things up here, but But if you do read the book, do let us know your thoughts and opinions. We would really love to hear them. And if there's any books that you would like us to, read and review, happy to do so. Drop us a comment on whatever platform you listen to us on. And don't forget to share our podcast with people, especially this episode if you feel like it would resonate with anyone, because I feel like a lot of people need to hear this episode. I feel like this one will really resonate with a lot of people. So feel free to share. But with that being said, we hope that you have a good day or a good night, and we hope that you are well. Bye.
Bye.